We made it, everybody. We have made it to week 18 of the NFL season. The New York Jets have one more game to play, and then we can truly dive into the offseason and talk about all of those things. And it's been a long time during the season where we've really just been kind of looking ahead to that, the way this season has gone. Tim McMaster here, along with Zack Rosenblatt. Thanks for joining us on Flight Plan. Give us a 5-star review and rating wherever you're watching. I'm still waiting for some of those to trickle in, Zack, so we're not going to read anything today. We'll do that for the first episode of the off season. Yeah. Thank you for the baggage handlers for joining us here on YouTube on your day before New Year's Eve. I appreciate you checking us out. Hopefully everybody is relaxing a bit this week. Things tend to slow down in the workplace for a lot of people. So hopefully you're getting a chance to spend some time with family and all of that. Zack, how are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm good. I'm ready for the season to be over. I saw Joe just tweeted this a little bit ago. You and I were kind of talking about it a little bit before the pod. This is the angriest I can remember. I've only covered the Jets for so long, but Joe's been a fan of them forever, and he said this is the angriest he can ever remember the fans being. And the anger, it was at a pretty high level last year, especially. I mean, even going into the season, people were very out on Saleh. That feels like a lifetime ago. And then the way everything went after that, everybody was pretty mad. A lot of it was directed at Woody. And now Aaron Glenn is just, he's gone in the complete other direction. Like, I think you and I felt pretty good about him for a stretch there where they were at least competing and we were complimenting him. We thought they were starting to figure things out. And then it just gone the complete other direction. And I know there's a lot of excuses you can make about the talent level and all that stuff. But, I think it's reasonable to expect your team to not be like the worst December team in NFL history. I think that's a very low bar to clear, and they are not able to clear it. So it's a very weird time around here where everybody kind of knows the coach isn't getting fired. I think there are fans that are really pushing for it, but we're just kind of sitting here, just kind of, winding out the clock of the season that has been over for a while. It's been over since before Halloween, definitely by the trade deadline. And, I don't know. It's been, I appreciate everybody that's stayed along for the journey, come listen to the pod. I feel like we've grown our audience a little bit, even amidst this terrible season. But yeah, this has been one of the biggest slogs to end a season I can remember. Last year, at least you had, it was dramatic and it was annoying, but you had the Rodgers stuff. You had, the chaos of the firing of the coach, and you had, all the weirdness of the Ulbrich saga and all this Devontae Adams and all this crazy stuff. There hasn't been fun headlines this season. It's all been the Jets. Oh, look, the Jets did a thing nobody's ever done. Oh, look, the Jets did another thing nobody's ever done. Oh, look, the Jets are continuing to do something nobody's ever done with the interceptions. And so, anyway, it's a long-winded answer to your "how are you doing" question. But how I'm doing is I'm ready for this season to be over so we can get to where we thrive, which is the off season.
We're going to win another offseason. I know we can do it. All right.
Feel it.
We're doing a mailbag because of a lot of what you just said, and that I don't think fans are really interested at all in talking about what happened at MetLife on Sunday or what's going to happen in Buffalo this week. So we're going to talk about the offseason and talk about what you out there want to talk about. You put the question out there on Twitter, Zack, and got some great questions in. So let's dive right into the mailbag portion of this. After that, we will get into incentives. Some Jets players do have some things on the line Sunday. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk a little bit about the draft at the end of the show. Without further ado, we open up the mailbag, and we start with Hilly Fez. Was last Sunday the worst Jets performance of all time? I don't think. Well,
no. Well, I think it has to come with caveats and stuff. I would say no. There's in terms of meaningful losses, I would say probably one of the worst is that Ryan Fitzpatrick one where he had 6 picks, and they needed a win. But I pulled up StatHead to get their worst loss in terms of point differential. If we're going all the way back to the 70s and 60s, they lost games by 53 points, 48, 46, 43. If we're staying to this century, in 2010, they lost by 42 points against the Patriots. They lost 41-0 against the Jags. In 2006, they lost by 41 to the Patriots. In 2021, a lot of Patriots blowouts, I would say. So this was bad, but it's also they had an undrafted rookie playing quarterback. So I don't know, it was bad. The Patriots probably would have scored 70 if they kept everybody in. This is the Belichick years. They might have done that, and the Patriots, even in their own ways, kind of put their foot on the Jets' throat, and were laughing at them as they were drowning underwater. But like it was like the Patriots were like toying with them at a certain point. But this wasn't the worst loss ever. It was just more indicative of how disgusting this season has been, is what I would say.
Yeah, and one thing I'd add to that is that this was a game that everyone knew what it was going to be. Nobody outside of New York and New England was watching this game on television. I don't think it went anywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
to be the worst, I feel like there needs to be more eyes on it, like a bad prime, like Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, like games like that where everyone's watching and you really stink it up. Whereas this one, nobody was watching and everyone knew the Patriots were going to blow them out. And that's what happened. All right, up next, Jose Colon. Fans are furious. You just mentioned that off the top, Zach, after promises of making the fan base proud again. Where do you think the biggest blame lies for the season? Coaching, quarterback play, front office, or ownership?
I mean, it obviously, I think when he asked this question, he probably knew it's not one answer. It's probably all of the above,
The
I would say.
whole collection.
But
Yeah.
I mean, if we're like ranking the biggest culprits of the issues this season specifically, like if you want to talk at large the problems with this organization, you start with ownership. I don't think ownership is the reason for the disaster of this season specifically.
Ownership has stayed quiet for the most part this season.
Yeah. I mean, look, like they're in this predicament largely because of some ownership issues, obviously,
Yes.
but like specifically within this season, I would say coaching, number one, and it kind of goes hand in hand with front office because Aaron Glenn has such a hand in what they do. Like he's the final decision maker. He's the one telling Muji what to do to a degree. Like there's a reason Woody called Muji Aaron Glenn's sidekick at his intro press conference. Like they're not hiding it. This is Aaron Glenn's show. He picked these players to a degree. And then quarterback, like the quarterback play is like a big reason why they lost a lot of those early games. I think by the end of the season, they're not bad because of quarterback. It's just like one of the things. And the defense has just been a disaster. So that's why it's like I lean coaching because, you know, they haven't really been putting these guys in position to have success, even if they have the right guys to do that. The defense has gotten worse. We've gone over this over and over again. Like
defense has gotten worse since
McDonald's
the firing of the coordinator too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And so where do they go from here? Like I talked about this with Connor yesterday. Like that, I mean, they need staff to a degree. They need to completely redo the defense. They need a new quarterback. Other than that, everything will be easy. So you know, just completely redo everything and change your scheme and you know, coach better. And like as long as they do everything differently, I think they're going to be in good shape. Is what I would say.
But with the same coach and the same front office and the same not the same quarterback. I mean, the only thing that's really going to change next year is quarterback. And well, there's plenty of questions in here to get into that. So let's move on. All right, this one from Rob Gavin. What are the chances that the Jets trade for a quarterback if they can't draft the one that they want? And we'll get into the draft later, and you see how unlikely it is. It feels like at this point that they would be able to draft the one they want. Who would that be? Tanner McKee, Mac Jones, Malik Willis, Joe Burrow?
It's like it is hard to answer any of these obviously definitively anyway, but until we know, number one, where they're going to be picking, or number two, if Dante Moore is coming into this draft, like that's like the biggest wild card in all of this. If this is a one quarterback draft, the Jets are kind of screwed. Mm-hmm. If it's a 2 QB draft, Dante Moore or whoever's not number one quarterback, because I do think there's a chance Moore would be. I lean towards Mendoza being the guy, but I think there's a non-zero chance it's Moore. Whoever's the number 2 guy, the Jets have to go up and get him, even if it means trading up one pick. Like you have to make sure you get that guy. But short of that, like I am very intrigued by Malik Willis over these last couple of weeks. I don't know that I could bank an entire season on him being my quarterback. I like the idea of trading for like a guy like a Mac Jones or a Jacoby Brissett if he was available, or like one of those mid-level guys, like not, you know, doing the lottery ticket again with Kyler Murray type of guy, or I don't know, one of the other options out there. I mean, I'm intrigued at the idea of going all out, trying to get Lamar Jackson. If that thing happens in the way it's going to, I don't think Burrow is happening. I think everybody should retire that idea. I also think a lot of times at these conversations, everybody forgets that a quarterback of that caliber has to want to come here. Like if the Jets might want to trade for Lamar, but he can just very simply be like, I'm not playing for the New York Jets. And same with Joe Burrow. Like they kind of have the ability to probably dictate where they want to go and still get good capital in return. So that's
and
the
unlike,
problem.
I'll add in there, unlike when Aaron Rodgers chose to be a New York Jet, it seemed like this organization was a quarterback away, right?
Yeah.
That's not
No.
that's not what it looks like anymore for any of these other quarterbacks.
Yeah, but anyway, it's like, who is it going to be? Like, I don't really have a great answer, unfortunately. Like, I think the most intriguing outcome to me is, let's say whether Moore comes out or not. Let's say they don't wind up with a quarterback with the third pick. They pick Arvell Reese. I really like the idea of trading up or staying put and getting Ty Simpson, and then signing or trading for a veteran of, whether it's a Malik Willis where you're like intrigued and he can start off the year, and if he doesn't show enough, then you go to Ty Simpson, or a Jacoby Brissett, or a Marcus Mariota, Jimmy Garoppolo, like one of those classic like bridge guys. I'm intrigued at that idea, like pairing somebody intriguing with Ty Simpson to where you don't feel pressured to play Ty Simpson right away, is what I would say.
Yeah. So when you say that trading up to take Simpson, is that first round or is that him falling
That's
into the second round?
So as of now, the Colts pick will be at the 18th.
Right.
It could rise. Like they're playing Riley Leonard this last week. So it could bump up a little bit. It probably doesn't get much higher than like 17th or 16th or something like that, I would guess. I could be wrong. But if you're at 16, let's say Dante Moore or only Fernando Mendoza, but let's say maybe both of them, the Jets aren't able to get either. You pick Reese third. How high would you be willing to trade up for Simpson if you like him enough to view him as a future guy? Like, I'd probably go up to like 10 or something like that at the most. And the Jets have the capital, and it wouldn't cost as much going from 18 to 12 as it would, if the Jets have been number 5 going to 1 or whatever it is. So I'm just intrigued at that idea because Simpson also, like, I think he definitely has the tools and the talent. He's just very inexperienced, even more than Dante Moore. So I'm intrigued at the idea of bringing him in. Say if you feel like you have something, if it looks like you don't after the first year, like, just be open to the possibility of drafting another quarterback next year because it looks like a pretty deep class. So I don't know. It's a convoluted plan because that's kind of what you have to come up with until we know the particulars. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I hate that idea. I feel like you need to be pretty confident though to move up into that area, like 10, 12, because the last thing you want to have to do is draft a quarterback the next year after taking one in the first round. Now, if Simpson dropped to the second round, then absolutely. All right. How many defensive starters are currently on the roster? That one from FM Sean.
So let me pull up the Jets depth chart. I meant to do this before, but I was working on a story. All right, let's see here. I want to pull this up so I can count it out. So how many starters are going to be on this defense next year is what he's saying, right?
Yeah, right.
So let's count. Harrison Phillips, 1. Jawan Briggs, 2. Jermaine Johnson, 3. Will McDonald, 4. Jamie and Sherwood, 5. Malachi Moore, 6. Brandon Stevens, 7. And then maybe Brownlee if you count him, or Zaire. Like the more numbers I'm saying, it sounds like 8 or 9 guys. Like that's
that's bad. Like,
yeah. So
I agree with those.
I don't say that with
saying, but
I don't say it with confidence.
Yeah, defense be any better, right?
100%. Also, you have to factor in they're going to have a new DC, and these guys have to fit his scheme. Like, he might not like Brownlee, he might not like AZ Thomas, he might not like Brandon Stevens, he might not like Sherwood. So and maybe Briggs isn't like a full-time starter. Maybe Harrison Phillips isn't a full-time starter. Or maybe Jermaine Johnson isn't a full-time starter next year, and they draft an edge. So, I'd say probably like 7 of these guys are starters next year, which isn't great for maybe one of the worst defenses in the NFL. But also, like, the guys I listed, like, some of them I'm like, okay, he's okay. Oh, he's okay. But none of them are great. None of them are game changers. So I don't know that any of those guys, like a single one, I could say should have their starting job 100%. So, like, if the Jets can get an upgrade at any of those spots, I think you should do it. And so maybe that's where the number would go down a little bit.
7's fine if the 4 that you add are great, right?
Yeah.
We'll take these 7 guys, and then we're really putting in talent to replace the other 4. But that's kind of hard to do in one off season. Up next, this one from Mark Lev. If the Jets don't re-sign Breece Hall, do you see any strong targets in the draft or in free agency for them? Do the Jets view Braylon as a lead back or not?
I don't think they can view Braylon as a lead back at this juncture. Just, he didn't show enough before. He was starting to get into a groove a little bit. He had the fumble that game, but he was starting to run the ball a lot better. if it's not Brees, like I pulled up the free agency list. So let's see what we got here. So Javonte Williams had a really good year for Dallas. I don't know that he's a great like game changing running back. Travis Etienne is intriguing to me. I don't know how much he'll cost though. He's a very athletic guy. Rico Dowdle, like if you can get him at a good price, I don't hate that. Like he's very productive for the Panthers, and they got him for very cheap. So if you don't have to pay a lot, maybe you get him and you draft somebody else, or you pair him with Isaiah Davis or whatever it is. Outside of that, there's not. Oh, Kenneth Walker, I do like him actually quite a bit. He's a really strong runner. He probably will command around what Brees will command, I would guess, because I think he's probably a more proven running back. And outside, I mean, J.K. Dobbins has too many injury issues, but you can probably get him for cheap. Like that's kind of where you're wading into if you're moving on from Brees. It's like guys that are like, I mean, Kenneth Walker I like, but guys that are like pretty solid, no game changers. I don't know that Brees is necessarily a game changer at this point either. So, but the whole point, and we've talked about this, if you let Brees go, it's just another hole you have to fill as opposed to just bringing him back and dealing with all the other problems you have. So I lean towards Brees maybe not wanting to be back, but they could force his hand with a transition tag or a franchise tag.
Yeah, I think he's back too. Absolutely. You just can't have nothing like
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson and who as weapons on the offense for
Yeah.
whoever the quarterback is, somebody who's coming in as a rookie or somebody that you're adding as a go-between. Next one's from Mr. Slippery. He says expectation for a defensive coordinator and when that would be announced. Also, do you think Glenn will give them full autonomy to hire their own staff?
I mean, I think it'll move pretty quick after the season's over. I would say one of the names that's emerged a little more in recent days and weeks, and I'll credit Connor Hughes because he's the first one who referenced him, is Wink Martindale, who went back to college with Michigan. He's probably the kind of coach that the Jets are going to have to not settle for, but he's like, it's not the most exciting. He had to go to college because nobody else wanted to bring him on. He had a really big flame out with the Giants with Brian Daboll, but I do think there's some mutual interest there because he's a guy with experience. I think he is not a bad coordinator. Like that 2022 Giants defense was pretty good. He's very blitz happy. You kind of need to get creative when you don't have the talent, and the Jets don't really have it. So, I mean, I'd be intrigued by. I mean, they won't have Quincy anymore. I think he's gone, but I would have been intrigued by him in this kind of defense if they were to hire Wink. I'm not saying I think he's 100% the guy, but like my early prediction is he's probably going to be a finalist at the very least. And other names are going to emerge. I don't think Chris Harris is a legitimate option based on what we've seen the last couple of weeks. I think I think Jim Leonard is somebody that should be considered. Will he want to take this job? Same with Al Harris in Chicago. Like those are the big names I think of. I don't think Jim Schwartz will want to come here. It doesn't seem like Raheem Morris is going to get fired at this point because they keep winning meaningless games. It doesn't seem like Jonathan Gannon's getting fired either. So there's not a lot of like experienced options that are that exciting out there. So that Wink is like out of the guys with experience as a DC. If that's what they want, I think he makes sense.
When do those interviews start? Is that like imminent? Starting to interview?
Probably once the season ends. I can't remember if they have to interview if the Rooney Rule applies to coordinators. I'm honestly blanking on that. So I'm not sure if they have to go through. I know Robert Saleh went through a whole process for offensive coordinator, and that's when he landed on Nathaniel Hackett when nobody wanted to talk to him. Like guys were rejecting interviews, or guys were talking to him and making it clear they kind of didn't want the job because they were worried he was a lame duck coach, which you kind of have here with Aaron Glenn. It's not an appealing job. I'd argue maybe even less appealing than the Jets offensive coordinator job was when he was hiring, and he settled on Hackett, who is one of the worst offensive play callers I've ever seen, and I hope I never have to watch him call plays again. So that's kind of what Aaron Glenn's going to deal with if he really expands this search. Like, what is appealing about this job if you don't know Aaron Glenn on a personal level? And that's why you wind up with somebody like Wink, I would say.
All right, this one from a different Zack. He says, would the Jets consider trading in 2027 for head coach, Harbaugh, Stefanski, Tomlin?
No, I mean, since I don't think Glenn's getting fired, I don't see that happening. Like if all three of those guys or two of those guys were available, like would he be tempted? I don't know, maybe, but would those guys want to come here? That's where I'd be skeptical. So, no, if the Jets had a head coach opening, maybe you'd consider that, and they have the extra first round picks and all that stuff. All three of those guys, I think, are good coaches. Stefanski's not on the same level as the other two, obviously, but offensive play caller. So, no, those three guys are not going to be the next Jets head coach, I would say.
All right, last one from Twitter. What happens when the Jets win Sunday? And all of this was for a sixth or seventh pick in the draft. That's from Kevin.
What happens is just depression, I would say, probably from this fan base.
I mean, we should be. I mean, if you're hoping for the highest draft pick, which I think everybody should be at this point, you have to be grateful that the Bills have something to play for as far as seeding. Not the division
Yeah.
anymore, but as far as seeding goes.
Yeah, I'm curious how the Bills approach it, if they play everybody the whole game or if they take them out. The Jets shouldn't be a very hard opponent for them. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Tyrod's healthy, but he dealt with a personal issue, so he was inactive last week, and Hendon Hooker was the backup. I was hoping we would get some Hendon Hooker action, but if Brady Cook is a quarterback, I don't know if it matters who the Bills play, and the Jets will lose, frankly. So if Tyrod plays, he's a little more at stake as a guy who wants to stay in the NFL. So I don't think they would win or anything like that, but it would be very Jetsian to get a win, not only to like hurt their draft position, but for them to act like they can go into the offseason with like the fake momentum, which they've done in the past. So all I want is a good, clean loss, some bar bill wings, and no flight issues coming back, so I can make it back for Baggy Day. That would be my hopes for this next week.
It's not a high bar. I think we.
I know.
Come on.
I know.
Let's make it happen. All right. Looking ahead to this game, there are some Jets that will have some things to play for. Not a lot though. It is an interesting list. Tyrod Taylor, you mentioned, if he plays, he had a whole bunch of incentives worked into his deal, but he has no chance at really getting to any of them. A lot of them were either amount played, which he hasn't played nearly enough, or compiling stats as far as quarterback play, touchdowns, yardage, and he's not going to get to any of those. But guys that are close, well, a few have hit some stuff. John Simpson has gotten $3 million in bonuses by playing 90% of the snaps. Josh Myers $1 million for his playing time. But Nick Folk didn't get the Pro Bowl, got the Pro Bowl snub, but with 2 field goals on Sunday, his bonus goes from $375,000 to $500,000 for his bonus for one heck of a season for Nick Folk. So let's hope for a couple of field goals.
And Kene Nwangwu is 1 return touchdown away from $500K. So
let's do that.
More special teams rooting.
The Jets score 13 points, 2 field goals, and a Nwangwu return. Lose the game. Everyone's happy.
Exactly. Man, this game is going to be something on Sunday. Just brutal. And 4 p.m. kickoff sucks. At least it's not a Saturday game, but give us a 1 p.m. I know I was spoiled. We had all 1 p.m. games this year, and we'll probably have that next year too if I had to predict. But hate the 4:25 kick. I'm curious if any Jets fans are going to be there. I can't imagine any will, unless they.
Why is it? I was trying to think why it is a 4:25.
I think because the Bills seating still kind of matters, so I think they're just factoring that in probably. I don't know though. Like nobody's watching this game.
No, and there are a couple interesting games we'll get into in a minute as far as the schedule goes. Before we get to that and picks, because we're going to continue our picks in the playoffs, but things are interesting here with 1 week left in the regular season. But as far as the draft goes, we talked a bit about it a little bit at the top. Jets moved up to number 3 as the Browns inexplicably beat Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers on Sunday. That Rodgers press conference must have brought back some memories, Zach. Did you watch any of that?
No, I didn't see his press conference. What did he say?
He just had kind of like a grin for a lot of it and was like, they were like, why do you think you'll bounce back and win next week? And he said, like, we've been doing it all year. And then he said, like, except today. And he like laughed. It was just a lot of Aaron Rodgers talk. I mean, he was really an abysmal performance. I mean, with the division there to be had, you lose to the Browns. I mean, who don't even want to win.
They were like so scared of getting sacked by Myles Garrett that they were just getting rid of the ball in like literally 1.5 seconds, like every play. They're just trying to keep it from him getting the record for some reason. I don't know. Like this would be a pretty funny collapse because they've kind of just been in the driver's seat all season, and the Ravens have looked terrible all season. They might not even have Lamar this week, or I think maybe he'll play. I don't know. Like if they lose this game and miss the playoffs, like just a funny, just like deflating end when they were all excited like 2 weeks ago when they won, and it felt like they were gonna run away with the division when they were 6-1, even though the Ravens were still favored somehow. and then we'll hear all the Rodgers will retire talk this year. Like maybe he'll be nice and just come out and say it right away. But knowing him, he's gonna drag it out. And Mike DeFabo, who covers the Steelers, is gonna have to deal with it this time.
I can't remember. Did he sign a 1-year deal? Like is he
Yeah, 1 year deal.
deciding to? Okay, so he literally has to re-sign in order to come back, which makes all that worse.
Yep.
But there's nobody else there as far as the Steelers go. They've been
Sure
stuck
isn't.
in this messy middle situation where they're just not good enough to really make a run, but not bad enough to get a quarterback
Yep.
for a while. And they are stuck. Okay, so that means the Jets are number 3. The Giants beat the Raiders to fall back to number 2. Bad news for the Jets because the Raiders are going to stay at number 1. I mean, the Raiders need a quarterback. There will be at least one quarterback available.
Yeah.
You would imagine if Dante Moore doesn't come out, the Raiders will take Mendoza. If he does come out, they'll make their decision. And maybe that's good. And the reason I say that, Zach, is because the Raiders don't exactly have a proud history of picking the right quarterback either.
Yeah.
They're right up there with the Jets. So maybe if there's 2 quarterbacks available, you're better off with the Raiders just picking theirs and you take whoever's left.
Yeah. I mean, but they need Dante Moore in this draft, though. So,
right. That needs
is
to
what
happen,
I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Raiders will get excited by Ty Simpson. Maybe he goes off the rest of the playoffs and the Raiders like go crazy and draft Ty Simpson first. Who knows? Like they've done weird stuff in their history. Tom Brady kind of running things over there now. Man, but Pete Carroll looks like he's about to get fired too. Like it's kind of funny that the two of the worst, probably the 2 worst teams in the NFL are coached by Aaron Glenn and Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was literally Aaron Glenn's first coach with the Jets when he played back in 1994. And Pete Carroll got fired after 1 year and he bounced around and went to the Patriots and went to college and came back to the Seahawks and all that in between the last time they were together. So now they're both here at the bottom of the NFL where one's probably going to get fired who has a more proven track record and the other one who doesn't have any is going to keep on trucking along. So there you go.
It is kind of an unfortunate finish for Carroll. I mean, if you think about USC and what he did in Seattle, I mean, even when he was with the Patriots, he got him to the playoff. Well, he got a great roster to the playoffs and then they slowly got worse. But, he's a guy who's had a great career and this is not the way to go out. Probably still better than what Bill Belichick has done though. Probably still.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I'd take this over that. So if the Raiders beat the Chiefs, very unlikely, they would drop back to number 2. The Giants would go back to number 1. And then in theory, the Jets could trade up to 1 and get the guy they want if need be. That's a big if, the Raiders beating the Chiefs, but the Chiefs have looked they do not look like a team that wants to play football right now either. So
yeah,
who knows? All right.
It's going to be a lot of fun tanking scoreboard watching this weekend for the last week of the season. Yeah.
And with that, let's get to the picks. It's the right one. It's interesting. It's interesting at the top. Mark Echecki, who's been in the lead the last few weeks, tied now with NCH 191 points.
Oh.
And then that's because NCH got 14 last week, as did Quattro 2 with 14. So things are interesting. 191, 191, and then 3 guys that are just 1 game back at 189. Again, this is going to go through the playoffs, so it's not going to be decided this week, but certainly some interesting stuff in the standings. As far as the actual picks go, so these top 2 games, Zach, I think are the most interesting as far as playoffs and everything. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Somehow, the Bucs are still alive for the playoffs, and they win that. Apart. I think that they win that game. They're in.
Yep, it's whoever wins that is in. They win that
division.
Yeah.
2 bad teams.
Yep.
And then San Francisco, Seattle, also interesting. San Francisco just coming on, and Purdy looked fantastic.
He looked really good
the other night, and they are actually a home underdog against Seattle, which is surprising to me. That one's Saturday night, which will be a lot of fun. I forgot that there's actually Saturday games coming up, so
I'll probably be sitting at Bar Bill watching that game. So if anybody's in town.
Having some wings. As far as the Jets go, they're only 7-point dog in Buffalo, so I think that's a pretty easy pick for the Bills. And then other pick Baltimore. I'm taking Baltimore -3.5 at Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh blew it and they're not going to bounce back. But you mentioned if Lamar doesn't play, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty cool to have all these meaningful games going on at once. Although the Broncos are going to just clinch the 1 seed because the Chargers are benching everybody this week. So I was hoping to have a little more fireworks there with the Patriots and them, but guess not.
Are those two at the same time? They must be, right? Patriots. Yeah, those
I'm
are both
guessing,
4:25. Yep. Yeah, the 1 p.m. It's like a reverse of the usual, where you usually have. I guess it's split 6 and 6 as far as 1 o'clocks and 4 o'clocks. The Rangers play Dallas. I'm actually taking. Sorry, the Rangers. The Giants play Dallas at home. Dallas has blown things. That one's interesting to me too because I don't know. I'm taking the Giants to cover, not win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Giants accidentally winning that game.
Right.
I think Dak is starting, but I don't think they might not play him the whole game. It sounds like so. I don't know. I could see the Giants ruining their draft positioning and helping the Jets or whatever move up, which would be funny.
Yeah, and the Jets would likely move up to number 2. Anything else stand out? That Bears Lions game should be so much better than it is. It's unfortunate.
What a weird year for the Lions. Them not being in the playoffs, I did not see coming. I had them as like a Super Bowl team, I think, before the year. That backfired terribly. It seems they missed Ben Johnson more than they missed Aaron Glenn, I would say.
Are you sure?
Just a little.
Ben Johnson's had a pretty good run for sure. What a turnaround there. All right. Anything else on the way out?
No, I don't think so. We'll probably get back to you guys next week after Baggy Day at some point. And thanks for listening along this season, and Happy New Year for everybody, because that's by the next time we talk, it'll be 2026. So Happy New Year to everybody and your families and all that good stuff. And write us some reviews, please.
Write us some reviews. Happy New Year. Be safe, everyone, on New Year's Eve if you're going out and celebrating in any way. And we'll talk to everybody in 2026, where we will again jump on optimism. That's going to be our thing for 2026 again, Zach. We're going to stay optimistic throughout this off season as we build to next season.